Hello and welcome back to Off the Post. In today's episode, I'll be discussing how Aston Villa won this 7-goal thriller against Sunderland at the weekend. But before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated and it goes a long way with me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 307 subscribers. We're well on our way towards 500 subscribers. Can we go and do it? Hopefully we can. I'll be absolutely over the moon. Just want to say a massive thank you for the recent support on our most recent episodes, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. Definitely to go notice. And yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you really for the overall support. But yeah, let's get straight into the episode, shall we? Now, Aston Villa beat Sunderland 4-3 at Villa Park at the weekend, okay? And for me, this goes to show an impressive result for Aston Villa and Unai Emery's side, okay? Just because, obviously, they went 3-1 up, absolute amazing scenes from the likes of Ollie Watkins, Morgan Rogers, John McGinn, Matty Cash. All these players are absolutely exceptional in this game. And then, obviously, for Sunderland to sort of bring it back to 3-3 towards the end of the game, of course, it was looking like they could have even potentially scored a winning goal through Diarra at the end of the game. Okay, he was through on goal. Okay, almost right, and he could have easily just put it slightly straight past Emi Martinez. However, he goes for this sensational chip, and he just couldn't get enough loft on the ball to lift it over the Argentinian goalkeeper's head. Okay, and he just goes on and saves it and powers it away. But we need to talk about the other action because obviously, Aston Villa go down the other end of the pitch and score like the winning goal in like 37 seconds after Diarra missing his chance for Sunderland to go on and win the game. But you know what I mean? Before we talk about any of that sort of stuff, let's talk about some of the first goals of the game, okay? Because for me, one impressive player was Ollie Watkins because he scored 2 goals in this game. And for me, for his overall season, it hasn't been as impressive as it was last season, of course. Him scoring 28 goals in all competitions, something like that. He's only scored 15 goals and got 3 assists out of 47 games, I'm pretty sure, altogether so far this season. And for me, he has had a drop off this season, hasn't he, Ollie Watkins? There's been a long period of time where he's had a few goal droughts and whatnot. He hasn't really been that impressive, but throughout the times where he hasn't done that good, he's always been a hard worker in the Aston Villa front line, okay? He's always trying to provide those extra runs, hold up the ball, try and bring in other players into play. When it's not working out, he does the hard yards that a lot of strikers probably wouldn't do in the Premier League, and that's why he's still an impressive player and he still deserves to be in that starting lineup. That's why Unai Emery has kept him in the side throughout the whole time. He has been not as great, if you like, not scoring the goals, but in the last 5 games, I want to in the last few games, I want to say he has scored 5 goals and got 1 assist in all competitions. Obviously, scoring against Bologna a few weeks ago, that was pretty impressive. Scoring 2 goals now, scoring 2 goals a few weeks ago as well. He's starting to get back into his form to potentially go on and potentially be that second striker for England. When you think about other strikers in the league, you know, there's a few that come to mind. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, obviously, he's scoring a goal for Leeds United. He's been so impressive this season. So maybe he's probably got to battle it out with him. He's probably the main contender. Other players, maybe like Danny Welbeck as well for Brighton. He probably deserves his chance as well because he has been impressive this season. However, I feel like Ollie Watkins does offer you something a little bit different compared to a Harry Kane because he can make those channeling runs from either wing, if you like, left or right. He can sort of hold up the ball as well, bringing players into play. He can come up with the goods. He can score you some goals as well. He's very hot and cold in front of goal. It does take him 3 or 4 chances to score, but when he's like bang on form, he will get you the goals. That's the main thing about Ollie Watkins. He's gone on and scored 100 goals for Aston Villa, okay? And you're telling me, he's had a bit of an off season. He's sort of detailing this form. Don't get me wrong, it is somewhat true, but to have all this Ollie Watkins slander, I don't truly believe it. But anyway, that's my Ollie Watkins rant over. Let's talk about at this point it's 2-1 in the game. Okay, because obviously Ollie Watkins scored a fantastic header in the second minute, and then Chris Wigg sort of comes back in the 90th minute. Lovely sort of first touch in the box, sort of get his technique right. Okay, and then he just curls it straight past me Martinez to make it 1-1 in the 90th minute, and then Ollie Watkins scores again in the 36th minute. Okay, another header. Okay, nice little play. I think the cross was from a nice little play from Morgan Rogers to hold up the ball and to sort of wait for Ian Madsen to make his run down the byline. Plays it across the Dutch left back. he plays it across now into Ollie Watkins, and he just headers it straight home past Roofs in goal. And for me, he didn't really have like a great game, did he? The Dutch goalkeeper, at least, anyways. And then, it was 2-1 going into half time. And then in the 47th minute, okay, 2 minutes after, the players all walk out, Morgan Rogers gets his goal, okay, for the Midland side. And for me, this goes to show impressive run of games, run of form for him as well recently, because he's starting to get back to his best, isn't he, Morgan Rogers, getting the assists, getting the goals as well. For me, this was probably the best goal of the game, okay? It was a lovely team goal, okay? Obviously, he started out from Ross Barkley having a driving run through midfield, taking away 2 or 3 of the defenders. He plays it out wide to Ollie Watkins on the left-hand side, of course. He takes 1 or 2 touches and then just lays it straight off to Morgan Rogers, who's through open onto goal, okay, running it into the box. Has, again, 1 or 2 touches into the box, sort of open up his feet and just lays it across the goal, okay, straight past Robin Roofs again. You know what I mean? So from that point of view, lovely team goal. At this point, it was 3-1. You was probably thinking to yourself, pretty much game over. As long as Aston Villa can be reassured defensively and not let any, counter attacks, not let anybody run through open on goal, it'd be Aston Villa's all 3 points. It'd be easy as you like. However, it just didn't play out that way, did it? Because there were times where the likes of Tyler and Mings were kept on getting caught out as well. There was at least 2 or 3 times where, he was so high up the pitch, the defensive 4, if you like, were all out of position. Tyler Mings especially was pushing way up the pitch to try and, get involved in possession, try and get players into play, if you like, trying to make those free balls across to the midfielders, the wingers, strikers, etc. And then in the 86th minute, Jadon Sancho unfortunately does get caught loose on the ball, okay, and then the Sunderland players sort of get it back, have a nice little counter attack, and then it's also Trey Hume who scores Sunderland's second goal in the 86th minute, okay. So, it was a little bit unfortunate because Jadon Sancho, he got caught out twice in this game, okay, and both goals did lead from Jadon Sancho's mistake, if you like. So from that point of view, it is a horrible statistic to have, just because he was having an all right game when he did sort of come on and look sort of impressive, didn't he? He was doing the simple things right, wasn't he, Jadon Sancho, running down the byline, beating a few of his players and whatnot. He was looking pretty good, so it was a little bit unfortunate he did have that stat to his name. I sort of did like how Unai Emery came out in the press conference and he sort of said it wasn't his fault. So from that point of view, we can't really put that much blame on him, just because if the defenders behind him, if the midfielders behind him weren't so open, weren't so playing so high up the pitch, and they probably wouldn't have got caught out either if they were so defensively sound, if you like. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. Was it Jadon Sancho's fault? Was it more of the defender's fault? Or we're missing that sort of defensive midfielder in a Boubacar Kamara? Because with Ross Barkley in there, he doesn't fill in the same role. With Douglas Luiz in there as well, he doesn't fill in the same role either. He's a little bit more of a progressive passer on the ball, isn't he, Douglas Luiz? So he's not really going to be that sort of same defensively solid, defensively resolute, trying to be able to break up the midfielders playing and whatnot going forward for Sunderland, at least. So for me, we've seen it as well with Onana. He's not really a defensive midfielder, is he? Don't get me wrong, he can sort of, break up those attacking players, if you like, but he only does it once in a blue moon. That's what Boubacar Kamara is in abundance. He sniffs out loads of attacking plays for Sunderland, wins the ball back and just lays it off to one of the Aston Villa defenders or wingers or right back, left back, whoever it is. He just plays it. He just does simple things well, doesn't he, Boubacar Kamara? And we've really missed him since his injury, and he needs to come back as soon as possible, because if we talk about the equaliser to make it 3-3 for Sunderland, for the French striker Wilson Isidore scoring the third goal in the 87th minute, 1 minute after Trey Hume scored that goal, okay. It was so easy again. It came from Jadon Sancho giving the ball away. Tyrone Mings was left caught out. He was so high up the pitch, wasn't he? And then Wilson Isidore. He sort of just runs on. He just sort of just runs onto the ball, okay, from a nice little free ball, and he sort of takes 1 or 2 touches and then just curls it straight past him Martinez, in the right hand corner. So from that point of view, it was easy as you like for the French forward. He's probably not going to score an easier goal this season. So from that point of view, it was a little bit annoying because Emi Martinez did have a little bit of a slip if you sort of call out on the replays. So maybe if he didn't slip, he probably would have been in the right position at the right time. We'll never know. It's one of those unfortunate mistakes from the goalkeeper, from the defenders as well. And then at 3-3, I did mention earlier at the start of the video, Diarra, the midfielder, runs. He's open through on net, okay. He tries the he's open through on goal, okay. He tries the sensational chip ball over Emi Martinez, and it just unfortunately he couldn't get enough loft on the ball to sort of lift it over the Argentinian goalkeeper's head. So Aston Villa did get a little bit lucky there because Sunderland could have easily won this game. However, 37 seconds later, Aston Villa go down the other end, playing a nice little 1-2 triangles here and there. It eventually falls to Lucas Digne on that left-hand side. He swings in a lovely cross into Tammy Abraham and he gets a nice little flick on straight past, 2-3 of the Sunderland defenders. It just rolls past Robin Roofs in goal as well. So from that point of view, he sort of does injure himself in the process, doesn't he? Tammy Abraham hurts his shoulder a little bit, and I feel like he's fine after, once the ball gets put back into play into the game. Of course, he is fine afterwards, but it's putting his body on the line. It's those fine margins, and Tammy Abraham was the hero of this game, wasn't he? He was absolutely sensational when he came on. He's always going to be pushing Ollie Watkins for that starting striker position, isn't he? And that's what Ollie Watkins needs in abundance. He needs somebody pushing him to make him better, to believe in himself, to be able to go on and strive forward for Aston Villa, to be that main goal scorer again for his side. Because don't get me wrong, I was questioning Ollie Watkins throughout the whole season whether or not Aston Villa do need a new starting striker next season, going into the new season, of course. And maybe it's still the case. We have to wait and see what happens towards the end of the season. If the goals sort of dry up, or if he's helping Aston Villa secure top 5, potentially winning the Europa League, that'll be absolutely amazing as well. We'll have to wait and see if what Unai Emery wants to do. If he sort of revitalises this team. That's definitely not a word. I definitely pronounced that wrong. You know what I'm trying to say. He's getting on in ages, and Ollie Watkins is 30 now, so maybe Aston Villa will try and bring in another younger striker at least that can sort of develop for the future, if you like. But this game had everything in abundance for me. It was the best game I've probably watched all season. A 7-goal thriller from Aston Villa. It had late drama, of course, from Tammy Abraham scoring the late winner, and for me, it's so important getting all these 3 points because now Aston Villa are currently level on points with Manchester United in third. Okay, obviously Villa in fourth, and I'm pretty sure they're 10 points in front of Chelsea in fifth. So from that point of view, Aston Villa now only need 1 win, and I think they need Chelsea to lose their next game, and they're pretty much secure Champions League football for next season. And you've got to think about all that money they can bring and then reinvest into that squad for next season. We might need Aston Villa might need a new centre back. We've seen it in this game against Sunderland. We can't be conceding 2 late goals like they did. Getting caught out from the likes of Tyrone Mings and the fullbacks. It wasn't just Tyrone Mings' fault. I don't want to put all the blame on him, but he was the one getting caught out quite often, wasn't he? Compared to the other defenders in there, Ezri Konsa, Matty Cash, Luca Digne, and whatnot. So let me know in the comments down below. Do Aston Villa need another centre back? Do they need another striker? Do they need another CDM to sort of fill in for Boubacar Kamara's another higher level than a Ross Barkley and a Douglas Luiz? How do you feel about Ollie Watkins' form going into the back end of the season? Trying to get top 5 football, potentially win the Europa League. Can he sort of qualify for that England squad? Can be a part of that England squad? How do you feel about Sunderland as well? Well, did they get a little bit unlucky to not go on and score the winning goal? How do we feel about their overall season? Some of their players in this game: Chris Rigg, Trey Hume, Wilson Isidore, all the goal scorers. How do we feel about them finishing off the Premier League season? Can they get top 10 football, or is that too much to ask for? And yeah, Before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes a long way with me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 307 subscribers. Can we go and get my main target 500? Can we go and do it? Hopefully we can. Just want to say a massive thank you for the recent support on our most recent episodes, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. Definitely on notice, and I really do hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.